Wild Coast FM, your community connection.
And we have the lovely Petra online to give us a little bit of motivation for the week. Good evening, Petra.
Good evening, Christine.
How are you?
Hi, fine, and you?
Good. You are running around, and what are you doing? Where are you?
Exhausted. Thank goodness you phoned me now because I've just caught my breath. I've been busy with a massive corporate project doing 61 makeovers. And that's my car alarm. Sorry, I'm actually sitting in my car because we've just finished the makeovers.
You're dodgy, Petra. You look dodgy. Doing makeovers, making car alarms go off.
You know, that's what we're doing. So I've been on my feet for the last 2.5-3 weeks for 61 makeovers, and so exhausted, but really, really, really good.
Jeez, okay, wow, all right. What are we discussing today? We said ons gaan gooi bietjie with why do we set New Year's resolutions and why do we kind of not achieve them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something that every single person at some point, if not every year, at some point everyone has experienced this. And it's definitely, it's something that we all try our best. We all have the best intentions. And we think, this year is going to be different. This year I'm going to stop smoking, I'm going to lose weight, or, next year I'm going to whatever. So it's always that anticipation of setting these life-changing goals. And for me, I've mentioned it before, for me it's really, I believe that unless it's a decision, an internal, inherent decision that makes you want to change something in your life and live a life of a purposeful life, living a life as if your life counts and your life matters and that you are here for a reason. Unless you're living with that goal in mind, those intentions are just going to be wish lists that you're never actually going to be able to achieve. And, according to an article in Forbes magazine, only 8% of people worldwide generally achieve their New Year's resolutions on an annual basis.
I saw that. They've also termed it or coined it the term cultural procrastination, which I like.
Yes.
And then there was another one, false hope syndrome, which is apparently something we all suffer of. And but why because we won't put it on the wish list if it's not a wish or if it's not something we usually want. And they usually fall in the same circles. It's usually, like you said, it's quit smoking, it's money, debt, money cash management, weight loss, and exercise.
Yeah. Yes.
So
find a better partner, get into a good relationship, get a better one.
So if this is what we want, is there like something magical that happens those 2 days before the first of a new year that you think you can accomplish things and then it just disappears? What exactly happens? Why? And then is it ultimately us setting ourselves up for failure? Because I very rarely have met anyone that has succeeded in a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, it's very easy to say, I want this and I want that, but oftentimes we aren't ready to commit to the process of how to achieve it. So I think so many times we get into the hype of, yes, I'm going to do this, and yes, I'm going to do that, until we actually have to start changing our daily habits to be able to get us to that place. So for example, let's say, and I don't believe in diets, purely for the reason that it's not a healthy, sustainable lifestyle, but let's say you're saying that you want to lose 20 kilograms by this time next year. It's easy enough to say it until you have to keep saying no to the muffins, to the excess carb, until you have to start going to exercising every day or every second day or whatever. So it's when the crunch time comes to make the decision to take that action, that's where we get stuck, because that action isn't motivating enough to us to want to change. So, we know we'd rather stay in bed, or we'd rather have, just one more ice cream, or it's just one more this, or one more that, or just one little cigarette, one puff and I'll wean off. So it's that action that isn't bright enough, perhaps. It's that action or the decision that holds us back from doing that. So, unless it's like a core value, if it's a life or death decision. So, for example, Christine, if you have one more cigarette, your lungs are absolutely going to collapse. The likelihood of you having even one more puff, you are probably going to stop smoking immediately. You're not going to go for that extra puff. But if it's just, Christine, that smoking's not good for you, and you saying, yeah, I know, I should stop. If it's not life or death, you aren't going to do it. And that's where purpose for me ties in with life or death, because my life is on the line and I want to live my life according to, to my fullest purpose and to live my best life, which means I have to start doing this or stop doing this or change things and stuff. So it's once I think, I reverse engineer it. So I think of first, what is the life that I want? And you've got to picture it. You can't just say, I want a happy life with a good partner and I want to go on holidays and I want a good school for the kids. You've got to almost feel it, like experience that life. And then once you know that, you can start working it backwards, saying, okay, if that's the life I want, who's the person I need to be to get that life? And then once I know the person that I have to be, what are the changes I need to do to myself to become that person? So I think that's a lot more achievable, because you're not setting yourself up for hopes and dreams and wish lists of, I want this, that, and the next thing, when it's actually not part of your DNA and every fiber in your being doesn't resolve with it.
Do you also think it's maybe that we ultimately underestimate what it means to form a new habit? Because I watched this very interesting talk over the weekend regarding habits, bad habits, good habits, and resolutions and goals and so forth, and why we all, all of us, no one is above the other, why we keep failing. And it's what was very interesting, a little bit not starting on a good foot, but it's good to know that ultimately you can't dissolve or get rid of a neuropath. So ultimately that old habit or way of doing things, behavior pattern, is always a part of you. You can, though, create a new one, but that's why we always relapse or go back to old habits, and why it's so easy, because that neural pathway that you have formed will always be there. It's just a conscious decision of forming a new one. And I found that very interesting, relieving in a sense, that we're not as weak as we think we are, but that it takes a lot more hard work than we think. And then we come with these wish lists of changing 50 million neuro pathways where ultimately it's not as easy as we think it's going to be. So
it's your natural bent. It's your natural inclination to do things or think things or stop yourself from doing things. So definitely, if that's your natural habit, so whether it's a personality or it's an action or behavior or a habit, you're absolutely right. It's natural to you. So you've got to fight it to create these new paths. So definitely, it's being conscious of it all the time. So, for example, I decided to be vegetarian when I was 18, and and that wasn't just because I just don't want to eat meat anymore. It was because I just couldn't bear that another animal or another being was dying because of me, and that I was ingesting. So that's my personal journey. So I'm not putting this on anyone. But that was my personal journey. And 20 years later, or 21 years later, I've managed to still maintain a vegetarian without eating any kind of animal at all. Because to me, it's part of who I am. So even though I grew up 18 years of my life eating meat and fish and chicken in a Portuguese family there was amazing food everywhere.
That peri-peri chicken.
The peri-peri chicken. So that was my reality for 18 years. So that neural pathway was quite ingrained. But that's why I'm saying with purpose and with who you are, when you can change your DNA, that's when it no longer becomes about willpower. So that's where that neural pathway, I haven't put anything else like that in my life. I might have, I think right at the beginning, I tasted a bit of tuna again just because, and I tasted something else because someone's like, you're not healthy, you've got to eat fish. So, there was maybe 2 occasions where I tried to eat a little bit saucy, but it was the tiniest bit and I felt so queasy and I never touched it again. Because that became part of my being, as I decided internally to my core, this wasn't for me. Versus if I was just saying, let me try being a vegetarian for a year, I probably would have gone back within a month or two.
Well,
that's what I mean with purpose.
A lot of people also believe in it's going full blast. Right? There's nothing like baby steps. If you're going to do something, just make the decision. But what I also found interesting was during this talk, they did a test at various psychology departments, and what they found was they found people who ultimately chose this goal that they haven't been able to reach their whole lives, and was like the ultimate wish list, like we all have. And what they found is with people keeping daily diaries and so forth, and I don't know if I should be saying this, but it's out there, it's a truth, it's a study, is that those who cheated ultimately pursued the goal longer, and it became a part of who they were. For let's say giving up sugar. Those who cheated or rewarded themselves more often in the beginning, and most will see that as failure, but those who were willing to cheat and who did, but started again, ultimately now years later still are sugar-free, where those who went, balls to the wall and not looking back and pursued it for 2 months and then failed, are still eating sugar, which I found very interesting. Which it's got a lot to do with, I think, we also focus on a whole bunch of things. Like I said, we choose all these important things, and then, life is just going to change overnight. Where I think maybe to focus on one resolution rather than several, and set realistic goals is maybe a better option. First off.
Absolutely, Christine. I don't set goals for myself and New Year's resolutions at all, but what I do set is my biggest outcome for the year.
Okay.
So, so I'll have one outcome. What is the biggest outcome that I want for this year? So whether it's to grow my business, or it's to travel or live a healthier lifestyle, that's my one big outcome. So, of course, sure, there are lots of little things that lead up to it, and separate little, in inverted commas, goals or things that I look out for.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if my biggest outcome is to grow my business, for example, I know that there's certain decisions that I need to make that are going to grow my business. So it's not about having to-do list after to-do list after to-do list. It's knowing that I just need to grow my business, so therefore I need to do this and this and this. So bring it back again, like I said earlier about reverse engineering. What is your biggest outcome for the year? And then break it down into 12 steps. Okay, so to get this outcome by the end of the year to grow my business to whatever percent, what do I need to do by December, by November, and then work it back? And then once you've got your month is, okay, what is my biggest outcome for this week?
Yeah.
So whether it is sugar or whether, so maybe just for this week, I'm going to cut out sugar, just for this week. And then next week, you carry on like that.
We both interrupted there. But what I found interesting once when I was in a bad space, it was someone said something, and it was every decision you've ever made in your entire life led to where you are now, which I think we kind of really take for granted. We're like, oh, just this little thing here, and just this decision there, and just today this, and before you know it, you are where you don't want to be. And it's a series of, it's basically not focusing. It's not being very in the moment or taking conscious decisions. And I'm not saying life is incredible hard work all the time. I'm just saying it all happened for a reason. It's all actions that led to a solid point of where you are in your life.
Absolutely.
But okay, we can go on forever once again. And I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation.
Me too.
Can we continue this topic next week, Petra?
Let's do it definitely. So that at least by the new year, people are feeling a bit calmer and not stressed about whether you've given up on New Year's resolutions completely and you don't actually live for anything anymore, or at least live with the goal in mind anymore, or if you're just too freaked out to even try set one because you're probably not going to reach it. So I'd love to keep chatting about this.
Yeah, because ultimately I think also setting resolutions and goals is a bit of an obsession, and we won't take that away from you. You can still make those, but there are better, healthier ways, I think, of approaching them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Sounds like a great plan.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Petra.